If we move on to the discussion why products are problematic, one can only keep in mind that the design of a product is certainly reason for discussion. But also the attachment of a certain label is relevant. And we all know the case where the, at that time, 97-year-old Stella Liebeck poured coffee over herself. While she poured coffee over herself, she did what is more customary in the United States. She then filed a lawsuit against McDonald's. The full and true story is, of course, not that she turned around and filed a lawsuit, but that she demanded that some of her medical expenses would be paid by McDonald's. And over the discussion about that, the group, the lawyer representing Stella Liebeck, got frustrated, and she decided to cut it off and to file a lawsuit. The problem is not that the coffee was hot. The problem is that Stella Liebeck, as an almost 80-year-old female, had to be hospitalized for 8 days. She had to go through some skin grafts, and it was a 30-degree burn. And those who are experienced in the medical world know that 30-degree burns may create a deadly outcome. So in other words, it is not just hot coffee, it is a hot, deadly product. So after McDonald's got the demand for getting medical expenses for $11,000, the lawsuit was then filed. And we all know what happened, right? You all heard it. And when I ask this question, what is the outcome? I get sometimes very funny numbers, and some tell me this was multiple millions being paid, right? Caution, hot was missing. However, the parties, again, resulted in a settlement. So while the jury said this money is worth $2.7 million, however, the court later reduced the amount to $640,000. And after that, the matter was put into an appeal and the parties came into a settlement agreement. We don't know what settlement is. It is likely to be less than $640,000. So is it $200,000? Is it $300,000? We still do not know. Compare that with an $11,000 payment demand for medicals. Compare that with a daily revenue of $1.3 million in coffee. So the revenue as well as the liability together makes me wonder, what did the company not implement from a risk management protocol? So if we have 30-degree burns on the one hand, and if we have $11,000 and comparing that with 1.3 million, it is to be expected that something like that will occur. So my wish for you and the ask for a takeaway is, keep in mind that the early risk avoidance may be the best strategy. Be proactive, talk to somebody who complains rather than forcing them to go the legal route, may be the better way to reduce your risk. But did you ever wonder, why did McDonald's have to pay? What is the real reason? And the real reason is that the product appeared to have a problem, as the product was sold too hot. So the product was considered to be a problem because the degree of coffee served was much hotter than it was from competing companies. I have picked up some stories why McDonald's served the coffee hotter than competitors. And I believe both stories are compelling. One argument is that we have a couple of waterborne bacteria, and some waterborne bacteria likes it to be in a certain warm atmosphere, but not too hot. So if you push the temperature of the coffee to be a little bit hotter than it should be, the risk of having waterborne bacteria in your product is slower. So in a way, there is a good idea why McDonald's may have used this idea to higher the temperature. The second argument I picked up on occasion was that McDonald's did a market study and they came down that the typical consumer needs 10 minutes to consume the coffee. If that's the case, we need to make sure, so the thought process internally, that when the consumer drinks the coffee is still hot. So whether it was for McDonald's fear for bacteria or whether it was for the fear of having cold coffee being in front of the consumer, we don't know. But the fact is that McDonald's coffee at that time was hotter than of competing companies. And McDonald's failed, therefore, to tell everybody, caution, not hot, but caution, this is hotter than the hottest coffee you know.